Good morning. I guess I want to start out by congratulating the Iowa Hawkeyes. They had a phenomenal weekend, of course, with 42,000 people attending the wrestling match, um, all-time record, and then for the first time in history being 10-0. Um, so with that, I'm very pleased this morning to be joined by our Director of Education, Ryan Wise, by Council Bluffs Superintendent Martha Bruckner, and Council Bluffs teacher Samantha Adams to talk about what we've learned from our first year of the Iowa's new teacher leadership and compensation system. Brooke Bunton, Samantha Adams, instructional coach, also is with us in the audience and would be glad to help answer questions that you might have. But first, I want to congratulate Martha Bruckner for recently being named Iowa Superintendent of the Year. And we'll have a special event here in this office later to honor you as well. I want to thank you for your unmatched commitment to giving your students the best education possible in the Council Bluffs School District, including your relentless focus on helping children read proficiently by the end of third grade. Iowa is establishing the most extensive teacher leadership system in the nation. And I had the honor of being at Teach Strong national kickoff meeting with 40 organizations that have come together to support improving the skills of teachers and improving education in Washington, D.C., along with Jack Markell, the governor of Delaware. And Delaware has done a lot in the teacher preparation program, and we, of course, are the leader in the teacher leadership and compensation. Iowa is establishing the most extensive teacher leadership system in the entire nation with two main goals. First, to better utilize the expertise of many of our top teachers to improve instruction and raise student achievement. And second, to attract and retain more highly effective teachers to the profession. This includes rewarding teacher leaders with higher pay for taking on more responsibility in new roles, such as instructional coaches. Lawmakers passed our Iowa Teacher Leadership and Compensation System in 2003 session to help give students a globally competitive education in this state. We're in the second year of this 3-year phase-in. When fully implemented in fiscal year 2016-17, about 25% of Iowa teachers will be in leadership roles across the state. A new analysis from the Iowa Department of Education shows that Iowa is making good progress. It is based on reports from each of the first 39 districts on how well they met the goals they set. And here are two of the findings. Number one, 60% of school districts mostly or fully met the goals they set locally for improving student achievement. Number two, 89% of school districts mostly or fully met their goal for increasing collaboration. On our teacher leadership listening tour earlier this month, the Lieutenant Governor and I visited Dubuque and Waukee and Cardinal School District in Eldon. And we heard over and over again that schools now have far more capacity to help students learn, and teachers really love the collaboration. Dubuque, for example, expanded from 20 to 25 teachers in leadership roles before the Iowa Teacher Leadership Program, but it's now up to 215 teachers in leadership roles in the Dubuque system. We're moving in the right direction. I'm confident that we'll build on the great work that our educators are doing. And now I want to turn it over to Lieutenant Governor Reynolds to tell you more.
Well, good morning, and thank you, Governor Branstad. And when fully phased in the 2016-17 school year, Iowa Teachers Leadership System will invest $150 million a year. And this is a critical investment and one that we're really proud to be making. Great teaching is the single most important influence on student achievement inside schools. With higher expectations for all students today, we need to better support the more demanding work that we're asking the teachers to do. It's no longer realistic for one principal to provide all of the instructional leadership. We launched the Iowa Teacher Leadership System last school year, and with that launch, we had 39 school districts that enrolled a third of public school students. 76 school districts with another third school children came on board this year, and all of the remaining districts have applied to participate in the 2016-17 school year. And so we're really thrilled with the progress so far. Our state test last school year, students in the first 39 districts to launch the teacher leadership and compensation system saw proficiency scores rise to 74.8% in reading and 78.4% in math. 6 of the 8 largest urban school districts with significant shares of low-income students were among the first 39 school districts. Building on the progress is essential for all students to meet the goal of graduating from high school ready for not only college but a career training. The next step is figuring out ways that for all teachers to participate in a systemic improvement that the teacher leadership system fosters. I'm finishing up my town hall meetings for the year, and among the teachers and administrators that I've had the opportunity to talk to, one comment seems to remain consistent and continually comes up, and that is that they wish they would have had the opportunity to join TLC sooner. We found that both teachers and administrators have been receptive and really are excited about continuing the progress. So we are working to better support all teachers and have all teachers accountable to each other for the academic progress that we hope to sustain with this program. And with that, I'd like to turn the podium over to Director Wise, who will give you some more details on the teacher leadership and compensation system.
Thank you, Lieutenant Governor Reynolds. I share both your excitement on the progress Iowa has made with TLC implementation and your commitment to strengthening the system over both the short and long term. I've had the opportunity to visit many school districts that are implementing TLC plans locally. During these visits, I've heard several key themes that are also echoed in the end of year reports from each of the first 39 TLC districts and the summary report the Department of Education is releasing today. First, teachers feel their voice is being heard in new and important ways. They have a greater ownership over decision making, particularly as it relates to designing and delivering professional development for their colleagues. Second, those teachers taking on these roles feel energized and inspired. In turn, this enthusiasm is spreading throughout their buildings. Third, new teachers are experiencing more support than they anticipated. In addition to having a mentor, they are taking advantage of working with coaches and model teachers. Finally, teachers are experiencing increased opportunities for collaboration and are engaging in data-driven conversations with their colleagues focused on student achievement and student learning. In addition to each of these positive trends, teachers and administrators in all of the schools I've visited have also demonstrated a commitment to continuous improvement. They've identified ways, based on data and staff input, to improve their plans to ensure they achieve their goals. For example, school districts are working to improve internal data collection to determine the impact of TLC on student achievement and other key measures of success, and to make changes based on this information. In addition, schools are also making adjustments to their leadership positions to ensure each role is clearly defined and effectively utilized. The Iowa Department of Education looks to continue its role in supporting all Iowa school districts with TLC planning and implementation. We've built a strong statewide network of support in partnership with the Area Education Agency System, School Administrators of Iowa, the Iowa State Education Association, the Iowa Association of School Boards, higher education, and many others. We look forward to strengthening and improving this support. The department is also partnering with the American Institutes of Research to develop a statewide TLC evaluation. An initial report will be available at the end of the school year. Now, I'll turn the podium over to Superintendent Bruckner.
Thank you, Ryan. We from Council Bluffs Community Schools were fortunate to be part of the first cohort for teacher leadership, and we're very pleased with the results. The Council Bluffs School District has hundreds of teachers working diligently to help support students. We faced the challenges of high poverty, with 11 of our 15 schools qualifying to provide free breakfasts and lunches for all students through the Community Eligibility Program. Our board, though, has pushed us to be relentless in the pursuit of student success and to never use poverty as an excuse for failing. Because of a generous but temporary grant from the Iowa West Foundation, Council Bluffs had the opportunity to experiment with different configurations of instructional coaches in previous years, but that funding did not provide the support possible through the Teacher Leadership Program. Our district's application indicated that we wanted to empower high-quality teachers and mentor new teachers. We wanted to integrate technology and strengthen implementation of curriculum. And we wanted to integrate technology. We wanted to provide new career paths for teachers. We said we would measure our work in several ways. Two of those measures indicated we would increase student achievement and we would improve school and district climate and culture. How did we do in increasing student achievement and student accomplishments? Well, our Iowa assessments in 2014, the district showed increased achievement in 16 of 20 grade level tests in math and reading. And according to FAST assessment scores for our youngest learners, the district doubled the number of students who were proficient from their fall kindergarten assessment to their fall first grade assessment. Graduation rates in the district have increased for 9 years in a row, and we're cautiously optimistic that our graduation rates increased again last year, although we won't know for certain until the Department of Education releases that data in February or March. Students in our graduating 2015 class earned $16.5 million in scholarships, an increase of 54% over the previous year. So some very good things are happening in our schools. While we all know that it's never one thing that makes such a difference, we in Council Bluffs have no doubt that much of the credit goes to the diligent, collaborative, focused work of our new teacher leaders. To measure climate and culture, we use the HumanX Cultural Assessment, an instrument that reports survey responses on 15 different dimensions and presents a summarizing Dreambox score, indicating staff engagement and satisfaction. The average Dreambox score across organizations in all industries is 35%. In our first collection of data in 2012, district results showed that the lowest two dimensions were relationships and support and equip, at about 3.6 on a 5-point scale. The district's summary score was 51.5, better than average, but not good enough. In 2013, after much work in the district, the lowest two dimensions had changed very little, moving only to about 3.7 on the same score, and the Dreambox moved only to 53.7. In October 2014, the first year of our TLC implementation, the two dimensions moved to 3.77 and 3.86, and the Dreambox score jumped to 62.01. Staff responses showed an increase in climate in every one of the 15 dimensions. We believe that much of the increase was likely related to the increased support and camaraderie focused through the TLC program. We were not confident that another increase was likely, but in October 2015, results showed us wrong. In our most recent survey analysis compiled by HumanX Ventures, not by the district, we saw the dimensions of relationship and support equip move beyond 3.9, and the Dreambox score increased to 70.4. It's obvious that something good is happening. It's very legitimate to say that teacher leadership program is impacting the climate and the culture in our schools. I could have brought any one of 140 teacher leaders to talk to you today, and you would have been impressed. It's fairly easy to demonstrate that our brand new teachers are supported more than ever by our 8 full-time mentors provided by the TLC program. But I thought you might like to see that the teacher leadership program is helping teachers who are already good at their jobs. I'm pleased to introduce a dynamic duo from Abraham Lincoln High School, instructional coach Brooke Bunton, and language arts teacher Samantha Adams. Sam is eager to tell you about her experiences in the last 2 years.
Thank you. My name is Samantha Adams, and I'm a secondary language arts teacher at Abraham Lincoln High School in Council Bluffs. The first thing Dr. Bruckner said to me at my new teacher orientation was that we expect great things from you. And I've always remembered this. I have taken it to heart, and after several years working under her leadership, I realized the sincerity in that statement. Our district does, in fact, expect great things from its teachers and students. Since its inception, Iowa Teacher Leadership System has played an integral role in helping teachers move from good to great. I can attest to this shift as a noticeable transformation has taken place in my teaching and in my students' learning due to the leadership system. In the past, I considered myself a good teacher. I was passionate about teaching, I was dedicated to engaging lessons, I had positive relationships with students, and I was helping students succeed. In fact, a majority of my students would demonstrate proficiency on the state and district test, and I felt even more confident as a teacher when I was selected to serve as a teacher leader myself in the role of classroom strategist. I was a good teacher, but I was alone with the door shut in my isolated classroom. When I began my work with instructional coach Brooke Bunton, I never imagined the changes it would bring about in my teaching. I didn't even realize changes were needed. We began with weekly discussions about the instruction I was doing and the student data I was seeing. She asked me questions I had never thought of, some of which revealed that there were things about my teaching that could be vastly improved. For example, our discussion and reflection made me realize that I was teaching to the majority rather than ensuring each student was being challenged to go further and do better. The discussions forced me to reflect on things that I could do in my instruction that would increase all students' achievement. I'm not going to lie and say that that was easy to begin seriously reflecting on my current practices and collaborating on ways to get better and increase student achievement. It was seriously challenging work, and I could not have done it alone with the door shut in my isolated classroom. Because of this leadership system, I didn't have to do this alone. I had the consistent support of an instructional coach who, like me, was devoted to raising my student achievement. Brooke has helped me to learn to better identify struggling students and learn to openly collaborate on the best instruction to bring them to proficiency. She has guided me in differentiating to further challenge the students that come with advanced skills. We reflect on issues together and problem solve together. As teachers, we have always been asked to use best instructional practices and raise student achievement. The difference this program brings is the individual support to make that possible for all levels of teachers. I was asked to speak about how this system has impacted my teaching and student achievement in my classroom, but I wouldn't be highlighting the true impact of the TLC program if I isolated my comments to the impact in just my classroom. Brooke treats my students as if they were her students. We share responsibility of raising their achievement, and this shared responsibility goes far beyond just the work between the two of us. The teacher leadership system has created a community and an environment of collaboration between teachers in my subject area, in my school, and across the district. Because of this environment, I'm now comfortable talking about student achievement with coaches and other teachers because we're on the same team. We have the same goals: to use best instructional practices to raise student achievement. We are all responsible for the success of all of our students. My experience is just one example of the many teachers that are impacted by our multiple leadership roles in Council Bluffs. There are so very many teachers, both new and veteran, throughout our district that are affected every day by the coaches, mentors, and strategists in the leadership system. The goals of our leadership system call for more reflective teachers, meaningful collaboration between teachers, and raise student achievement. The teacher leaders provide the necessary support to make these goals possible, thus moving our teachers and students from good to great.
Wow. And this is what we've been hearing as we've traveled across the state of Iowa. Teachers that are inspired, that have been they've been good teachers and they're going to become great teachers, and they've done it in a very collaborative way. So I want to thank Brooke Button too, also for her important role along with the others that have been part of this system. So with that, we'll open it for your questions for any of us. Yep.
Yeah, so I can speak to that. So we have done some initial analysis on student achievement in the first 39 districts, and I'd offer a couple of thoughts on that. One, I think you see the 39 TLC districts are different in a lot of ways than the non-participating districts. So the first 39, the average size was 4,000 students compared to the average size of about 1,000 students. So these tend to be more of the urban schools. 6 of the 8 largest districts that were in the first round are part of TLC. Those districts have higher levels of free students qualifying for free and reduced price lunch, a higher need population of students. And so to see growth across all measures, I think is a positive trend. I would also add at the same time that we see growth, we know this is a big transition for districts. So those teachers taking on these leadership roles are doing so for the first time and are being trained up and skilled in how to really work effectively with adults. So they've been outstanding in working with students and children, and now it's a transition to having the same impact on adults. So we expect those results to only improve and grow over time.
Other questions? Sure.
Earlier this year, the governor showed education spending or the expressed concerns about that. I think you were among those. How hard was that made to achieve the goals? Obviously, spending a lot of money in one area, but you didn't with the ministry.
You know the answer to that. We absolutely needed the money that was vetoed, but what we do need is a balance. We need the balance of support for a program such as teacher leadership, but we also need the grassroots level to help us live day to day. Oh, yes, I'm hoping there will be more.
Yes. Right. Right. On the second day of the legislative session, by the way. It's, well, obviously I have to wait until we have the December revenue estimate to base my budget. It's my hope that we can do that, but it's going to be a little more difficult. The October revenue estimate was reduced by 125 million. Just to kind of give you the lay of the land, the state budget is about $7 billion general fund. School districts get about 3 billion of that. K through 12 public education gets about 3 billion of that, plus 1 cent of sales tax, which is about, I think for the next fiscal year, 458 million, also goes for local school district infrastructure that can be used for buses and computers as well as buildings. So, and if you look at the trend over the last 20 years, the share of the general fund budget going for K through 12 education has gone up. We're also trying to do some things to control other high growth areas in the budget, such as Medicaid, going to managed care for Medicaid like 26 other states, both to try to improve healthy outcomes for Medicaid patients, but also to have more stability and predictability in the cost of that entitlement program. By controlling that, obviously it puts us in a better position to have more money for other priorities, such as the largest item in the budget, which is K through 12 public education. Well, no, I can't. I have to abide by the law, which says that my budget needs to be based on the December revenue estimate. It's my hope, and I wish the legislature had approved 2 years so school districts would have had stability and predictability in the funding for the next year, and they would have known that already. I would hope that we will not have a repeat of what happened this year with a long extended session fighting over the level of supplemental state aid. Education obviously is a priority for all of us. One of the reasons why this program, Teacher Leadership and Compensation, was put together the way it is so the legislature couldn't eliminate the funding for this program in the future. It's a standing appropriation. It doesn't require an annual approval from the legislature. I was governor when we started the 3-phased educational excellence program back in 1987. And the phase 3 was $40 million for staff development. And that was a very unique, important program to help improve staff development. Eventually, the legislature eliminated all of the funding for that. And I think that was a tragic mistake. And I think it's one of the reasons why we did not make the progress or did not keep up with the progress being made in other states in student achievement. So when we designed this program, we designed it to be phased in over 3 years. Well, the first year was actually a planning year. And then Council Bluffs was one of the first districts to receive the first 50 million. This year, there's 100 million, and so 2/3 of the students are getting the benefit. Next year, every school district in the state has applied to receive funding from the TLC program, and it's a standing appropriation, and so the legislature cannot, you know, they cannot just discontinue the funding for that without changing the law. I'm not going to support changing the law. So it's going to be there. We're absolutely excited about what we're hearing from teachers about the fact that the collaboration and the opportunity to work closely together, to have mentor teachers that are there to assist and help them look at the data and be able to improve achievement for all students, not just for some. That's a thing that I find very exciting about this. No, well, and again, I guess I'm going to say that this is a priority and we're willing to cut other areas of the budget. And we've already reduced the size and cost of state government. We're down 1,500 employees from the day that Lieutenant Governor Reynolds and I took office. And we're going to continue to look at ways that we can be more efficient and cost effective in the way we manage state government using technology and finding better ways to deliver services. And we want education to continue to receive a growing share of the budget. That said, we're cognizant that we've gone through the bird flu epidemic this past year. Farm income, corn and soybean prices are below the cost of production. We're fighting to try to convince the EPA they need to restore robust renewable fuel standard. Consumption of gasoline is up. That was their excuse for not doing this. That's no longer a good excuse. The cost of food has not gone down as the price of corn's gone down. That's not a valid excuse. The EPA needs to approve and restore robust renewable fuel standard to get farm incomes up, which will generate revenue, and obviously generating revenue into the general fund of the state makes it possible for us to meet the commitments that we want to make for K through 12 education and other areas.
Certainly. In every case, the teachers that are in the teacher leadership program put in extra time, and we gave them a certain number of days, in some cases 5 additional days, in some cases 10 additional days. Classroom strategists received 2 additional days, which is the equivalent of, we figured at $1,000. So the increases were probably somewhere between 1,000 and 5,000. I know that the entire program, the gift from the state was $2.78 million, because in the cases of full-time mentors, for instance, their entire salary comes out of that, not just the bonus. Because they used to be a teacher and their teacher's salary came out of our general fund. Now they're a full-time mentor, not in the classroom, but helping new teachers. So then the entire salary comes out of that amount. Higher salaries and new positions, yes. Absolutely, we did. We did. And that was one of the things the governor said, is that he thought we would have more teachers in our state because of that. And so when we released a teacher to become a mentor, then we had to hire a teacher to come back and fill that spot. We hoped it would be about 1 mentor for 8 teachers, but it's really been more like 1 to 18. And that includes first-year teachers and second-year teachers, because they mentor them for 2 years.
Yep. Well, first of all, I want to, any other questions on this topic before we go on to other topics? Again, I want to thank our guests from Council Bluffs and congratulations on the work that you're doing. We're seeing this at other districts around the state, but obviously you're doing some extraordinary things in Council Bluffs, so congratulations. Okay, we'll answer your questions. Well, I don't know that the states have the authority to decide whether or not we can take refugees. This is a federal program. But I share the concern of the other governors about the safety and well-being of our citizens. After what we saw happen in Paris, at least one of the terrorists that was involved in the terrible atrocities that occurred on Friday was somebody that was came in, I guess, with the refugees from Syria. So we need to be concerned about ISIS radicals being embedded with these refugees. And I know that Senator Grassley is working on legislation to ensure that the administration has a responsibility to work with the intelligence community on this. It becomes particularly difficult to deal with this in Syria because, you know, Syria is in the midst of a civil war that's been going on for a number of years. Obviously, the Syrian government can't be trusted. And then you've got ISIS there in Syria as well. And so it's a very delicate and dangerous situation. We don't want to become like Europe, where they let all these refugees in, and now they're faced with sending their police out to try to find up and round up the dangerous embedded ISIS militants that are part of it. And there, it's not just also the refugees where ISIS people can be embedded, but as you've seen, natives of France and Belgium and other countries have become radicalized by ISIS. And a lot of this communication goes on through social media. There's also cells here in the United States that we have to be concerned about as well. So, and if you've listened to what ISIS has said, we, America, are just as big a target as the Europeans. And we need to be very vigilant and very careful. It's a very dangerous situation that exists today. And I want to do all I can as governor of this state to protect the safety and well-being of Iowans. I don't want people coming here without very careful vetting and make sure that there's no likelihood that they could have been radicalized or could be part of an ISIS operation. Well, first of all, the federal government has got to share with us the information, and they haven't always been willing to do that. And so we're going to demand that the federal government be open and transparent about what people are being placed. But it's also my understanding, even if they're placed in another state, their movement is then free within this country. So they might be placed in another state and move here. That's another danger that we're concerned about. I guess I don't want to be naive about the danger that we're facing. We saw a Russian airliner blown up. We have seen the coordinated attacks in Paris. We had some Americans that thwarted an effort on a train in France not too long ago. So this situation is very serious. And the ISIS threat, I think, is growing and is very dangerous throughout the free world. And it's something we've got to take very seriously. And I'm going to do all I can. I'm just asking the federal government to coordinate and work with us, share with us the information so that we can be as, and the Lieutenant Governor and I are monthly, we have an intelligence briefing that's given by the Department of Public Safety. And I can tell you, not just with the ISIS threat, but it's pretty scary. The kind of threats that we are faced with today.
Some of the, technically medication managed care, some organizations that work with, such as physical or mental disabilities, are saying that we need to switch on this and healthcare reimbursement so much they might not make a mistake.
Well, that's just not true. Actually, if they become providers under the new system, they'll get paid at the same level. And there's a lot of misinformation being put out by some people that are trying to scare people. And I don't like these scare tactics. I think we need to give people accurate information. What we're doing is what 26 states have already done, including big states like New York and California. Some of the same providers, 3 of the 4 we're looking at are already providers providing Medicaid services in the state of New York. No. Well, they're not going to change it. And Michael is very knowledgeable about this, and we've stayed very close to this. If they if they sign the contract and become providers, some people they're trying to have it both ways. If they don't become providers, then they get a 90% reimbursement. If they agree to become providers under the new system, they get reimbursed at 100%. And this is being phased in. For instance, the long-term care is being phased in over 2 years. The mental health aspect is being phased in over 6 months. So we've got a very thoughtful, careful, phase-in approach towards this. We've been working on this diligently for some time. We've looked at the experience and the success that other states have had in having better outcomes for the Medicaid patients. That's our primary concern, is to have better outcomes and more predictability. I understand some providers kind of like the present system because the more procedures you do, the more you get paid. But that doesn't, let's say you're somebody that's got a chronic condition like diabetes. And I worked on this when I was the president of Des Moines University with the Chronic Care Consortium. If you can coach those people and help those people so that they don't get their diabetes out of control, they don't end up going back to the hospital. They go back to the hospital makes more, but it's not good for the patient. And the other thing you've got, without coordinated care, you may have 5 or 6 different providers prescribing different things, and sometimes those can be in conflict with each other and create reactions and bad things to happen. So we're trying to come up with a system based on the experience of other states that have gone through this that will provide better care, better health outcomes. This is not dissimilar to what we that are privately insured through the state. I have a coach that works with me, frankly, through the state health system. And no. This is all a scare tactic. Now, listen, the providers, is all they have to do is sign the contract and they'll get reimbursed at the same level. So I guess it bothers me that we have some people, because they think they might not make as much profit off the new system based on healthy outcomes that they will under an old system based on procedures, would want to oppose this new system. But the new system, it may be new to Iowa, but it's not new in this country. 26 states are already using it effectively. And so that's all we want to do. And that's what I told the director of HHS, Sylvia Burris. We had a good meeting when I was in DC last week, that we just want to be held to the same standards that other states that have implemented this. And we think that Iowa has a proven track record of being a good collaborator with HHS. You know, when co-opportunity went down, we didn't play politics with that. We did everything we could to try to help those people get coverage through the existing exchanges. And we did. And we have a higher percentage of people insured in Iowa than ever before. And we did it with our Iowa Health and Wellness Plan. And we did it in collaboration with HHS on the exchanges. So We have a proven record of doing things well and doing things right. This Medicaid system is antiquated, and I think we can have a better way of delivering these services. So I know there are some people that always fear change, and you have people that are fanning those fears, but we're going to do all we can. And we've had, I don't know how many meetings all across the state to share factual information with people and answer their questions. I understand there are some providers that are putting out information that's not accurate. We'll do our best to get the facts out to people. Thank you.